Hey guys, welcome.
It's the Burg Life. It's a new episode. And it's
Yeah.
so soon after our last one, so you guys must be wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
Alright? But this is intimate.
Very.
Why?
We are telling the story how we met for the very first time, and it deserves some sort of effort.
So guys, it's been about 7 years to the day since we first started chatting. It was in November 2013 when things started happening. So this video is to tell you pretty much that crazy story.
Yeah.
So if you thought the engagement story was epic, this one,
I think it's quite very epic.
hold on to your tissues or your, I don't know, what makes you happy. Like, hold on to your celebratory devices, your vuvuzela.
Or at least hold on to your chair that you're sitting on.
It's the edge of your seat kind of story. But we'll tell you that after the intro, guys. It's the Burg Life, and it starts now. We're going to tell you the story of how Shaun and Neelu met. Some of you may know the full story, you may know bits and pieces.
Some of you may know the shortened version.
There is no short version, so.
But you always say that.
I always say that, but I always
You go like, do you want to hear the short version or the long version? And then you go with the longest version.
Because it's such a cool story that I don't want to leave anything out. And,
Yeah.
Cool story, Hansel.
Thanks, Olaf.
So I guess we should start as to where we were round about November 2013.
Yeah.
I mean, in my life, I was going through a major depression, and I was done looking for love and looking for romance. I tried a lot over the course of almost 35 years. I'd been rejected. I'd been the best friend. I'd seen people I liked go out with other people. And after a while, I just had enough of it, and I sort of decided, that's it, I'm done. And I ended up going on a business trip to Europe that would take me through a number of different countries. I would go through London,
Belgium.
Amsterdam, Belgium. I was in Bruges, and I ended up in Glasgow, Scotland with a friend. But prior to this, I'd had the most immense heartbreak I'd ever had from the stranger that I tried to be kind to. And it killed me. So I was done with love. I wasn't expecting what was about to come my way in the next few months. I don't know, where were you in your life during November 2013?
I was very single, and I was also kind of done with love, relationships. I was actually just enjoying traveling around.
You were in Qatar.
I was in Qatar, so exploring new countries, new destinations that I wanted to go to. So I was by myself, quite at peace, and yeah, that's where
You weren't
I was.
looking for anything, right?
At that moment, no, I wasn't.
Yeah. I think we both, growing up, we'd maybe had very similar paths in life, but I think when it came to needing that person in our life, we were at very different spots in our life.
Yeah.
I was so desperate to the point I'd given up. She had gone through something and made peace with not needing anyone. But what happened was I'd gone through this epic European tour, and I decided to blog about the tour. So I was writing, I was taking photos and everything, and I was keeping a blog online. And on my way back, I happened to come on I don't want to give the name, but we'll give Etihad. So I was on an Etihad flight back from UAE to South Africa. And on this flight, there was this flight attendant. I thought she was cute and all of that, but like, I liked speaking with people. I liked the concept, a very romanticized version of being on flights. I like to talk to people, to tell them my story and all of that. And I got really good service from this lady. And at the end of the flight, I thought to myself, let me end off this trip by speaking to this girl and asking her for a photo to put on my blog.
Was it just that?
Well, now you being cabin crew, if you have a guy come up to you with this,
I would not think it is just for blog.
Exactly. So.
दो सामने, दो पीछे और 4 विंग्स के ऊपर। फर्श पर लगी दीप्तिशील बत्तियां आपको अपने निकटतम निकास द्वार तक पहुंचने में
I think at this point it's sort of that, well, I was still trying to be brave, I was still trying to talk to women, but at this point I was I was broken. I was a mess of a man. I had no self-confidence. I had nothing worth praising myself about. So during this flight, you know, we chatted a few times, and I just couldn't get the guts to actually ask her for a photo because it seemed inappropriate. So when we eventually landed in South Africa, I was like, I'm not going to do this. It's going to be uncomfortable for her. I don't have the confidence. So I literally, when the flight landed and we were able to disembark, I grabbed my bag, got ready to leave, and I started walking off the plane. And something came over me that said, you need to speak to this woman. And I put my bag down, I turned around and I went back to the back of the plane and I said, sorry, would you mind? I've been blogging this flight. I would like a picture with you just to sort of end this blog off and say thank you. And she was very gracious. She said, yes, absolutely, no problem. We took a picture. I only had her first name. So Pooja, if you're watching, that's you. I had her first name, and obviously I knew she worked for the airline. So I came back home. I wrote my blog. The trip was amazing and all of that, but I was still very much heartbroken. I had to come back to nothing. I was very lonely at the time. I was really struggling mentally, but my writing always kept me going, and that travel aspect, you know, you travel, that keeps you going.
That actually does keep you going. It's one push all the time, you know.
And it's when you stop traveling, your mind starts to wander, and I think that's the worst part. But anyway, a few days later, I finished off this blog. I searched for her online, and I eventually found her on Facebook. Now, Pooja is a pretty common name, I guess, within the Indian community, so it was quite difficult, but I'm a bit of a detective that way. Stalker. Detective.
Stalker.
Same thing.
That's the word. No.
Exactly the same thing. So I wrote it, I found her, and I sent her the link, and I said, thank you so much. If you're interested, here's the article I wrote. So nothing untowards anything else. And then she happened to share that article because she was quite proud of it, and she was like, oh, when your customers give you great feedback and that. So
it's a moment of joy and pride for us.
Exactly. Like I think just you take pride in your work, and it's very hard to separate those who are after something else and those who just want to praise you for a job well done. So anyway, I started getting a lot of people sort of checking my blog. Some people subscribing because I had a history of blogs I've been writing about, almost like an online diary. And one of these names was a lady by the name of Yulene, who subscribed to my writing. Now, when she subscribed, I saw the picture, and for some reason I was immediately like, wow, who is this person? Because she was very beautiful in the photo. I messaged her back, and what did you say?
You said, no, your message was, I just want to thank you for supporting my writing. I know we are strangers.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who you are, but thank you.
Yeah,
basically.
so I said, we are no strangers. A friend of my friend is a friend of mine.
So she ended up being batchmates with this particular...
Not batchmate, we work together, we were colleagues.
Colleagues, excuse me, I don't know the terminology in the airline industry. But so she had a direct connection with this cabin crew that...
we were Facebook friends, and we did our previous airline, we worked together.
So this Yulene was very complimentary of my writing, which for me is always a good thing, equally so.
Well, it was really good, the way you wrote it. It was very dark. I mean, I could feel that there was so much emotion going on, loneliness, depression.
But I was very honest in the way I wrote. I would address stuff that people might not talk about, or would be almost too ashamed to write about, I think. And I think we formed a connection there where she was able to, maybe she saw me as somebody she could help because she's very empathetic that way.
That was the thing. That's how I actually, you know, initiated, I think, even to have a courage to reply to you. I wouldn't have just replied to a random person.
Exactly.
Yeah, so when...
Especially online, it's, you know, it's these, well, maybe more so these days, but back then it was not, it didn't happen often.
Yeah.
But so I sort of said, you know, thank you. And she's like, you're a really good writer. I'd like to read more. And I was like, well, you know, I've been wanting to write a book my whole life, sort of like an autobiography. And she's like, you should really do it. I'd love to read it. So me being inspired and wanting to do these great, amazing gestures.
And believing a stranger instantly.
Yeah, like I'm very trustworthy that way. Not so much nowadays, but back then I wanted to believe that there was something epic and something great out there. So I decided to write my biography, my autobiography, and I was gonna, after I finished each chapter, I was gonna share it with Yulene.
That was the deal, actually.
Yeah, so there was that motivation. I had this one person. she was going to be getting to know me through my writing. I was going to get to know her through our chats. And it evolved. Over the next few months it evolved, and I think that was the November. By the end of that December, I'd written my entire book and I'd shared chapters with her. So she got to know me really intimately in terms of my life. I was very honest, to the point of being uncomfortable. But I spoke about my attempts at relationships, my attempts at love. So one of two things: either she thought I'm this absolute player or this absolute loser.
A person who doesn't learn from a situation.
Or
Not an idiot, but again, a person who wouldn't learn.
So yeah, we went through, and during this course of a month and a half, we started speaking more. I eventually found out that Yulene was her name backwards,
yeah.
Neelu. So that was sort of her way of keeping people from harassing her,
yeah.
And that, you know, especially the flight attendants.
दो सामने, दो पीछे और 4 विंग्स के ऊपर। फर्श पर लगी दीप्तिशील बत्तियां आपको अपने निकटतम निकास द्वार तक पहुंचने में।
In the flight, you meet people, and you know sometimes it's so uncomfortable for them. I mean, for us to deny it, and you give it out, and then if you have a name hidden, people will really have
struggle to find you, I guess.
Yeah, that was the whole idea.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I was stuck in South Africa. I was lonely. I was miserable. I'd gone through too much crime in the country. Like I was lost. Neelu gave me a bit of purpose. But now that this book was finished, I was like, well, you know, what's the next step? And we'd started chatting on Skype. So we had chatted face to face in terms of video and audio and that. So we built up quite a comfortable relationship.
Yeah, but I think you were also very serious.
I was all in. From the moment I saw her picture, I was like, that's the next girl.
And
that's it.
For me, it was not that. For me, it was like I'm getting to know you and I'm helping you come out of the depression that, you know, I so very well know. And when you were all in, and well, that's like a little uncomfortable.
Let that be a lesson to you, because you get married to that person. So never be kind to people or you end up marrying them.
Okay.
But now I get a point, but at the time, like, I was so desperate for that connection with somebody again, that my immediate next step was, I want to thank this girl, I want to go to Qatar, I want to meet her, I want to say thank you. So that became the next planning. I was like, I put it all in my power on how to get to her, how to plan this trip. So in the January, I applied for a visa for Qatar, planned my trip, purchased my ticket. And then I had a call with her where I told her the good news, and
I was in tears. I was in tears because nobody ever said, I'm gonna surprise you like this, you know, going out of their way from different country. You have never seen me, never met me. Of course, we were planning to meet, but then it was something, it was a gesture that nobody had done for me.
Aww. And there was a genuine sort of, we had things in common, like that was there. Maybe I read too much into it, but for me, I felt like, wow, this is different. This feels different. And so when I found her, I told her the news. I was like, guess what? I'm coming this weekend. I'm going to see you in Qatar. Obviously, I'd known her roster at this time, so I knew when she was off. So I planned it around that.
And I was planning to show you around. I was making a list of places that I'll take you to.
Yeah, so like, this was great timing. So that night at the office, I was having a Skype call with her. I told her, and then I'll chat to you when I get home. And then life stepped in. So, as I say, life stepped in. That night, I caught the train home as I normally do, from the office to the station where I parked the car, and I basically drive from there to home. This was about 5:30 in the afternoon. So I arrived at the train station and I started walking to my car. I'd withdrawn money from the ATM for my trip. I had some gifts for Neelu in my bag. I was on top of the world. It was my last day because I was going to take a few days leave to come and see Neelu. And as I'm walking towards the car, some guy comes running past me holding a red kit bag. And I didn't think anything at the time. And as he runs past me, he literally turns around and he pulls a gun out. And he holds the gun to my head. And he takes everything from me. And then two other guys come. Both with knives, so one held a knife to my face and one held a knife to my side. And I gave them everything. I didn't resist nothing. I said, please just take it. So I gave my laptop, I gave my hard drive, which had all my photos, my memories, everything that I'd worked so hard on. all the money I'd withdrawn. Literally, they took the glasses off of my face so that I wouldn't be able to see. They ripped earrings out of my ears, and then they obviously wanted the car, so they started dragging me towards an empty field where they were going to execute me, which unfortunately this happens quite often in South Africa. You know, if you get yourself in that situation, there's very minimal chance you'll get out of it. So for whatever reason, I wasn't wearing a belt that day. I don't know why. I always wore a belt, but that day I didn't wear a belt. So these three guys were dragging me towards the field. Me at the time didn't know that Neelu was trying to get hold of me. She was trying to phone me. You felt something?
No, I had a sense of urgency to know that you were okay. I felt something wrong is happening. Something really, really bad is happening. And I wanted to know that you're safe, you're home.
And I think you got to know my patterns, so you know how long it takes me and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I knew this was over for me, and I was so upset that this was all being taken away from me. So I decided, instead of being taken away and killed in a field without doing anything, I would rather be killed running away. So for a split second, one of the guy's grips loosened on my pants, and I turned around and I ran. So what happened was, basically, I got stabbed in my hands, I got stabbed across my face, and my pants got ripped. So I was basically exposing myself almost. And I ran and I slipped on the gravel and I fell, thinking I would hear a gunshot going off or something, but maybe they were so surprised that I'd made the break for it. I ran towards the station. I was trying to stop a car. Meantime, I'm covered in dirt and blood, and I'm stopping, please help me, and people were just driving off because unfortunately nobody wants to get involved in that situation. So I eventually safely made it into the station, where they took me away and they sort of, you know, calmed me down and called my family and that kind of thing. But it was this a moment that broke me, completely broke me. I was, after being through so much and finally having that chance at something joyful, and this happened. So obviously my trip to come and see Neelu had to be cancelled. I messaged her as soon as I was able to and told her the story. I think you were very understanding, but I think you were equally heartbroken. Like,
yeah,
somebody made you this promise and then this happened. You
yeah.
know? So
not heartbroken. I just felt like, you know, that's how I know life to be. Like, it will take you to that top and then it will literally leave you there, or
pull the floor out from under you.
So I was okay with, but I knew that's how life is.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, I just didn't know what to do at this point. So things for us were a little bit awkward. I don't think we knew how to deal with it. For me, I was like, I'll still get to you. I'll find a way. But then the weeks started to pass.
And then I think we were back on track with chatting.
Yeah, I mean, I healed up. I've got photos which you'll probably see in this graphic. But I healed up perfectly. I had no scars. Thankfully, the knife didn't go in my eye, so it was no permanent damage. I had to get new glasses, obviously, because I couldn't see anything for a few days. But yeah, I think once we got back on track, we started planning, okay, that didn't happen, what's next? So the opposite, we were going to plan Neelu bids for Johannesburg.
Yeah, no, actually, you know, we have different kinds of aircraft type. So I was qualified on aircraft type which doesn't fly to Johannesburg. So eventually I had a training, and when the training happened, I had a flight rostered for Johannesburg, and I was super excited, and I told him, you know what, I have a good news to tell. I have Johannesburg on my roster. And then he's like, yay, and already started planning and everything.
So I think that was probably in March. I think it was maybe less than 2 months later. Yeah. So suddenly, yeah, we were like, I was planning the opposite. I was going to take her everywhere in Johannesburg. I mean, we'd only had one day together. But I was excited that at least she would be coming here. And then I started to have this feeling, like, I'm like, something's not gonna happen, or it's gonna not pull through.
This stupid feeling.
Yeah, these feelings that hit us. And then I think it was the week before?
No, I think it was 2 or 3 days before.
It was a very short time between when she was supposed to arrive.
3 days before, I had a roster change. I've been removed from the flight going to Johannesburg because the aircraft had changed to the aircraft that I was not qualified for. So I was removed and put on standby. So of course I told him that I cannot make it.
Oh, come on! So again, second attempt to meet each other. universe decided no.
Yeah, I think that was a sign in a way, right?
So
to stop.
Maybe it was, but I'm very stubborn that way. I don't know when to stop.
And by then I had given up. I was like, okay.
And I could tell, and I think I was trying even harder, which was maybe pushing you away a little bit.
But you know, for me it was a sign in a way. I was like, okay, if it is every time there is some sort of blockage coming our way, that means God's telling it's not the right direction.
Yeah, and I think you had that from your side, and from my side, I had everyone telling me, stop, dude, just stop. It's not going to happen. She's got another life. It's, you know, it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
So I had no supporters in that sense. It was very, very difficult. Maybe one or two people liked the romantic idea of what I was doing,
but you as well, you are either here or either there. Like you don't have a middle way. Like yeah.
100%, and maybe that's why I get things done, but also I suffer extreme disappointment and
if it doesn't happen.
So eventually the time started to pass again, and then I could feel sort of that distance growing between us. And one day we had a phone call where we were just arguing, and it was just very uncomfortable.
Yeah, Mr. Grumpy being Mr. Grumpy.
And if you know me, I am Mr. Grumpy on the best of days. So eventually, like we just had this argument, and I said, Neelu, what do you want? Do you want to meet me at all?
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
And she was like, more than anything. So I was like, okay, where in the world are you going to be next? Now this was April, end of April. And she looked at her roster, and the next place she was going to be was Myanmar, which is Burma, Yangon, right?
Yeah.
So now this was about a week away. I think we had this discussion maybe on the Saturday, and she was going to be there on the Friday of the next week. So now me being me, I was like, all right, I'm going to do everything I can do to meet you in Myanmar on Friday. Now, firstly, not having a clue on how to get there, I didn't know what the procedure was. Monday I come into the office. I'm like, thankfully I was working for a travel agency at that time.
And they were very supportive.
They were very supportive in the sense like, if we can make this happen, we'll make this happen. So we were able to sort of change from my flight that I'd missed previously and contribute towards this flight. But basically what I needed to do is I needed to apply for a Myanmar visa, and I needed to get a flight from Johannesburg to Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong to Yangon. So the flight was ridiculous. It was, I think the full journey to get to her would be 36 hours, and I would get 1 day with her.
Yeah, I had a day off. Yeah.
So literally I would be traveling for a day and a bit to spend 1 day with her, and then travel a day and a bit back. I didn't care. I was like, I would do that to meet her for 1 hour if I needed to. So I applied for the visa. After 2 days, I got a response back saying the visa was approved. Thankfully, the Myanmar embassy from South Africa was not too busy, so it was fairly easy to do.
I'm sure nobody was traveling to that part of the world.
Exactly. And I got my flight confirmed, everything was sorted. And so I sent Neelu the good news, and I'm like, hey, good news, I'll see you there on Friday. You know, everything's taken care of. So now, that was the Friday I needed to be there. Now the Thursday was a public holiday in South Africa, meaning everything is closed, right? So I think I sent you my flight details.
Yeah.
And then the Thursday morning, me in my head thinking I'm flying on Friday. But on the Thursday morning, Neelu sends me a message saying,
where are you?
Is everything all right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, fine, I was just sleeping. Why, what's wrong? And she says, please check your ticket. I think you're supposed to be flying today. And I was like, no, I'm only flying tomorrow. Besides, I haven't even got my passport back. They'll deliver to me tomorrow morning. So she says, check your ticket. So I check the flight ticket. I'm supposed to be flying in, I think it was 2 hours.
Oh, come on!
And this was about 10 in the morning. My flight was 12:30 that afternoon. So
why is it always dramatic?
I was in shock. I was like, oh, what do I do here? What do I do here? So I phoned my manager, and she's like, you've misread the ticket. You know, you haven't even checked in online. You're supposed to check in online at least 24 hours beforehand. You need to drop your luggage off in like 2 minutes. This is not going to happen. She says, worst of all, you don't even have your passport. So there's no way I'm going to make this flight, right? So I'm trying to tell Neelu what's happening. I'm like, don't worry, I'm working on something, I'm working on something. In her mind, she's probably thinking this guy's messed it up again.
Again, and we won't meet again.
And we won't meet again.
And for me, this was it. Like, this was the last.
So I literally managed to get hold of, now we got the passport through an agency who thankfully the day before had collected the passport. But now this guy had my passport and he was in one side of Johannesburg, the airport was in another side. I had literally 2 hours to get to the airport for my flight.
And you know, I was imagining you going like a crazy headless chicken.
Which is literally what I did. My mom and I were arguing. She's like, what a waste of money, what a waste. I'm like, let's get this done. I grabbed a bag. I didn't even put clothes in it. I just grabbed a bag to have luggage. I put on some random clothes. Again, for whatever reason, I didn't put a belt on. And we're like, all right, we got to get the passport and we got to get to this airport. So I race to go and get this passport. I managed to get hold of the guy and I find him in some random KFC in the middle of town. He meets me there, he hands over my passport and he's like, you're not going to make it, you know, your flight's in like an hour. So in the meantime, my boss is trying to get him to hold the plane for me. She's like, hey, if you can get to the check-in desk, they can help you there, but you know, everything's closed, this is no guarantee. And you know, these days they don't hold flights for anybody.
Of course.
So,
you are no Mr. VIP.
Exactly, I'm a nobody. I'm like, you know.
Hey, no, it's not that. I just said you're no Mr. Nobody. Huh? VIP.
I am Mr. VIP. So anyway, I got nothing to gain here or nothing to lose. I just might as well take a chance, right? So once I have the passport, we speed to the airport. I guarantee you, I maybe got about 3 speeding fines that day. Race to the Johannesburg airport, OR Tambo. Grab my bag, say goodbye to my mom.
And then how were you running, holding your pants?
I'm literally running, my pants are falling down in the airport because I have no belt on, I haven't dressed properly. I'm running with an empty suitcase that maybe has a t-shirt and a pair of underwear in it, that's it. And I run to, now this was through Cathay Pacific at the time, so I knew what desk to go to. I run to the desk, it's a ghost town. There's nobody there, check-in is long closed, it's emptiness. I'm literally in one of those movies where the world starts spinning around you and you know it's over. And suddenly this tall, elegant black man stands up and he says, Mr. Myberg, we've been waiting for you.
I'd like to see the manager.
How good to see you again so soon.
I've made this flight. He's like, we'll get you on this flight. This man who was a godsend runs me through the airport. Literally, we're running together. He takes me through the private security entrance and I make this flight. I get on this plane. I can see everybody is angry because they've been waiting. For whatever reason, the universe wanted me to make this flight, but they wanted it to be very difficult. So I board the flight and I'm like, so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Nobody cared, like this wasn't their story, they didn't care, they just wanted this flight to start. I think I managed to message Neelu at the last minute before we took off and I said, I made the flight, I'll see you in Yangon. I think I literally had about a 12-hour layover in the Hong Kong airport.
Yeah.
I sat on that bench for 12 hours staring at the beautiful mountain outside the airport. Neelu eventually arrived in Yangon.
Yeah.
I caught my connecting flight from Hong Kong to Yangon. And then I arrived I booked a hotel next door to Neelu's hotel. So it was literally walking across the road to get to her. And so I arrived that night. I think, did you arrive in the morning?
It was the morning I arrived and you arrived late in the night. I mean, prior.
So I arrived the night before, hoping that Neelu actually made her flight, you know, like I just assumed she would make it.
Imagine I didn't make it.
No, this is the thing, like I was literally on the back of a bike from the Yangon airport being taken to the hotel. So, you know, dead of night, nobody else. I'm just like, where in the world am I?
Yangon. That's where you came to.
It was just the most surreal experience. So I arrived at my hotel, didn't sleep a wink. Neelu eventually messaged me when she arrived at her hotel saying, hey, I've arrived. Come to the hotel whenever you're ready. So I do as much as I can. I mean, I haven't brought great clothes. I don't look good at all. I'm just there. So I walk across to the hotel. Ding dong.
Who's this?
I shouldn't say that. But when she opened the door, my legs went to jelly. I couldn't stand straight. She invited me in. Like I just saw her and I was in love. I was like, this is what it's all worth. You know, this everything I've been through in life, not just this epic journey. To have someone like this open the door for you, it was worth everything, honestly. So she invites me in and she gives me would you like some coffee?
Would you like some tea or coffee? And you're like,
No,
yes,
I like
of
my
course,
coffee.
I would love that. I would love a cup of coffee. And then I made it nicely and then I gave it because, you know, again, I come from village. I have to say that, it's a disclaimer. So we don't use cup and saucer and spoon and blah blah jazz. So knowing him, he is South African white guy.
Sophisticated.
Yeah, I really thought he would be like that. So I gave his coffee in a cup with a saucer, and then literally when I handed him over, he took and he's like click 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 click. I was like, are you nervous around me? He's like, yeah, I'm super nervous. Why were you nervous?
I didn't want to ruin this moment. It was
Why?
because everything in my life to that point just didn't work out, and
What was the guarantee it would work out? Even then,
there was no guarantee. But firstly, I knew this was my last attempt. I knew it was this or nothing. So I was never gonna. If I had my heart broken, I would never go for anyone else. I couldn't go through more than what I'd been through with this particular engagement, so to speak. But I think once the nerves had settled down, we went out.
Yeah, it was fun.
We had a beautiful day together in Myanmar. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
It was very hot and
It was hot. It was sweaty. It was
humid.
just smelly. I don't know. There were a lot of things. It wasn't a great destination to go to meet somebody.
Yeah, but it was our epic.
There was something perfect about it in that sense. Now I knew Neelu had to fly back the next morning, so it was very limited time together, but we used it as best we could.
I remember the green curry. You like, I'd never had that before.
We had Thai green curry.
Yeah, it was really nice.
It was
shopping.
It was just something so simple, but so pure.
They say it's all about the simple little things in life.
Yeah, and I think we had a nice heart-to-heart that night as well. But then the reality set in. Next morning, Neelu had to fly back to Qatar. I would be staying on one more day just because I couldn't get a flight back sooner. So I said my goodbyes. Neelu left for Qatar. I stayed on an extra day, and
And you explored by yourself.
I explored by myself, and at one point I just sat in the street, and a small little kid came up to me, and he was just sitting there copying me exactly what I was doing, and I'm like, what is this life? What is this life I'm doing right now? And then it also started raining, and I just walked in the rain. It was movie moment at its absolute maximum. So eventually I had to fly back to Hong Kong to wait for my next 12-hour layover. So I fly back to Hong Kong airport. By this time Neelu's already arrived back in Qatar, so we can start chatting again. And then there's this awkwardness. Like she's not cold to me, but she's not. It feels like she didn't have the same experience I did. So I'm like, what's wrong? And like my flight was about to board from Hong Kong to Johannesburg, and Neelu's like, yeah, listen, I don't think this will happen again. Thank you for your efforts, but I don't think this will work out.
Oh, come on!
Best of luck to you. You know, like, what am I?
But I think I said when you arrived back to South Africa.
She ghosted me pretty much right there. That
No,
was like
actually, I
the
don't
last.
have a good moments. Like, I don't have a proper timing to.
I was stunned about what had happened. I got on the flight, I flew back to Johannesburg.
I told you, I was not all in like you were.
And I literally arrived back in Johannesburg, and it was like, so how did it go? I was like, it was beautiful, it was amazing, but
I think she broke up with me.
she broke up with me. And like, I couldn't quite explain what had happened.
I feel so ashamed right now. I'm so sorry.
I was just like, I couldn't understand. It was this absolute high, and then suddenly, on my way back, this absolute low.
I freaked out, you know, for me.
Yeah, and now I can understand it, but
then I know you had a difficulty in understanding.
you're very realistic in the sense like someone won't do this for me every time. He's in another country. What do I expect him to come to every destination and do this? So for you, it was like, I'm not going to get emotionally attached because I'm going to disappoint myself as well.
Yeah, and I always had my guards high up, and I didn't want to let it down. I knew, because that happened in the past, I knew you are no different as well. You would do all these amazing things and suddenly things will change and hurt me and upset me.
So you did the hurting first, basically.
Yeah. That was my defense mechanism.
And I understand it now, but at the time, the only thing I can say is I knew I wasn't going to give up on her, and I'm so grateful that I didn't, because...
But also, you know, now I can say so confidently, and I can tell you, when I met you for the first time, I was very certain you're not the kind of guy I would marry, you know. I'm sorry, but... but, you know, everybody has their own...
Put a ring on it.
Everybody has their own checklist of things that you want in a partner, and you were not, you didn't,
I didn't get any of it.
Yeah, maybe just 10 out of 50.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
But today I am happy that it didn't work out and we have this epic story, and I proudly say that I messed it up so many times only to make this amazing story that we have.
No, I'm very proud of our story. Like we could have done without the heartache, I guess, but I think that makes our love more pure now, and I think...
and super mismatched, but we have matched perfectly.
And we have this absolute crazy life when we're together that I don't think anyone could understand, and I don't think it would make sense to anyone. And I'm kind of proud of that. I know we're very different people to the world, and I think that's why we match. You know,
yeah.
We mismatched on the tick box thing, but together it's perfect.
That's so true.
So yeah, that's sort of where it ended, and we've told you guys the engagement story, and we're sitting here as a married couple.
Yeah.
So clearly, you know, there was a happy ending to it.
Happy ending?
Happy ending? We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye bye, let's go.
But guys, thank you for watching. It's a very personal story to us because it is so emotional. Now we're sharing it with you guys. I thank you for sticking with us and listening.
Yeah, it was, I'm so sorry I messed him so much. I was a little mental, I think, and I also had my heartbreaks, which, you know, paved a path for me, and that's what I wanted it to be. But in the end, I think we are together.
Maybe. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the episode. It's been a long one.
Sorry,
I
hope it's not...
But you know what? If you want to get more videos from us, you need to like this comment, subscribe, or like this video.
Like this video, subscribe, and comment.
Comment if you want. Tell us what you think of the story, and share your stories with us.
Exactly.
We know everyone has a different story, but that's ours.
And there is a bell icon. Don't forget to.
All right, guys. From the Burg Life, the Burg Wife, the Burg. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
That's my signature bye.